In this edition of the rare book collection of the Museum in the Park, we'll be taking a look at Samuel Lysons' Account of the Antiquities Uncovered at Woodchester in the county of Gloucester, published in 1796. This large elephant folio edition book is covered with marble boards and a contemporary half-red Morocco gilt binding. The book includes a hand-coloured engraved title and dedication plate to King George III, and 35 finely finished, hand-coloured, etched or aquatinted plates, of which 9 cover double pages. There are also 5 uncoloured engraved plates and a large engraved head and tail piece, making a total of 40 plates within the book. Samuel Lysons commenced excavations at Woodchester in 1793. They took place over 3 years. Lysons was able to publish the results of his work in his book, as seen here. He found a number of very fine sculptural fragments, including a large statue of Diana Luna, which we'll see later, and various other elements of the villa site. The first 2 leaves are also covered in the same marbled paper. The marbled paper is interesting on the inside. It shows a much better colour preservation than is seen on the outside. And we can also see a book plate on the left side here. The book plate is the book plate of Benjamin Gott. Gott lived from 1762 to 1840 and was one of the leading figures in the Industrial Revolution in the field of textiles. His factory at Armley Mills in Leeds was once the largest factory in the world, and it's now home to the Armley Mills Industrial Museum. Gott became the mayor of Leeds in 1799, and by the time he died in 1840, he was a millionaire. It's not clear how we came by the book, but it is expected that it was acquired during the curatorship of Stuart Douglas Scott in the 1940s. We believe this because Scott was very keen on highly illustrated and beautiful things. As we come to the book proper, we can see here the first of 20 pages of text, which is repeated first in English and then again in French. We see also the first of the uncoloured engraved plates within the book. This one sets the scene for us. We see the village of Woodchester in the background, with the church very prominently in the centre. We also see a small man sat on the edge of a trench, sketching what he sees within, and to the far bottom left of the picture, a small column discarded from the excavations. Listen now to the first paragraph of the book.
The village of Woodchester is situated under a part of that range of high ground which forms the eastern boundary of the Vale of Gloucester, at an equal distance of 12 miles from the city of Gloucester and the town of Cirencester. Woodchester is indicated by its name to have been a Roman station, and many Roman antiquities have been at different times discovered there. Of these, the most remarkable is a mosaic pavement.
Following on from the written portion of the book, Lysons continues to set the scene for us in the aquatints and coloured illustrations. In this page here, he shows us where Woodchester is situated in relation to the other Roman and Iron Age sites within the area of Gloucestershire. We see both Corinium, Glevum, and the Selsley Hill Fort. The Woodchester Roman Villa is marked at number 1 on this map, and the Selsley Hill Fort at number 19. In the first of the landscape illustrations within the book, Lysons continues to show us where the villa is situated in the context of the landscape around. Here we see a view of Woodchester with the church very centrally placed. The graveyard is where most of the villa site is situated. Seen in section plan here, we can clearly see the layout of the church, the graveyard, and in red, the villa site laid out for us. Having shown us the villa and where it is situated, Lysons goes on to detail some of the magnificent things he found inside. Most well known is this Orpheus mosaic. It's one of the largest mosaics ever found in Europe, and in fact is the second largest featuring Orpheus from anywhere in the world. As we move in close, you can see Orpheus there in the centre of the mosaic playing his harp, and he is surrounded by beasts. When looking at the mosaic through modern eyes, we have to remember that the beasts being rendered here were being rendered in mosaic by people who'd never seen them before. The elephant is an excellent example of this. It has a long nose or trunk, it has large ears and a substantial body, but proportionally, it's not quite what we expect of an elephant nowadays. In this, which is the most finely detailed of all the plates within the book, we see many elements of the mosaic maker's art. They're geographic panels, panels which feature urns and nymphs and many other details. Everything is rendered here in red, black and white, though the original mosaic may have had more colours involved. It's important to remember when we look at this finely detailed plate that Lysons was constructing this from things that he had learned both from his own excavations and from the grave diggers in the village of Woodchester, who'd been uncovering elements of the mosaic pavement for years. In fact, it's rumoured that they would say to people when digging a grave, "We've hit the pavement. Would you like him on top or shall we go through?" Following on from the highly detailed plates in which Lysons shows us the mosaics, both in their full form and cut down into smaller chunks to allow for more detail to be shown, he goes on to show us other things that he has discovered on the site. Here we see the Roman hypocaust, or central heating system, uncovered within a trench, and here we see the finely detailed marble sculpture of Diana Luna, which is now in the collections of the British Museum. It's important to remember that 224 years after Lysons finished excavating at Woodchester, this book is still the most comprehensive record of the finds uncovered at that site, and indeed Lysons' excavations are still the most comprehensive ever undertaken there. The Orpheus pavement has been uncovered several times since his excavations finished, but no more work has been done on the extremities of the site. In the next instalment of our series looking at the rare books in the collections of the museum in the park, today we'll be looking at this early rare edition of Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland was published first of all in 1865 by Macmillan & Co. of London. This is the 13,000 printing of that first edition, published in 1868. It's a good hardcover printing with original red cloth covered boards with full gilt edging. The book still has its original dark slate blue end papers and the binder's stamp on the rear end paper. The front cover features a picture of Alice, and the reverse cover, the Cheshire Cat. This early edition of the book came to us from the collections of Stuart Douglas Scott. Stuart Douglas Scott was the curator of the museum in Stroud from 1940 to 1946. He had a particular interest in children's literature, particularly finely illustrated books such as this one, with its 42 John Tenniel illustrations. While you enjoy those illustrations, please listen to All in the Golden Afternoon by Lewis Carroll. This poem, which appears in the opening pages of the volume Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, tells the story of how the idea for the book was originally conceived on an afternoon's boating with Lewis Carroll, the little girl who inspired Alice, and her two sisters.
All in the golden afternoon, full leisurely we glide, for both our oars with little skill by little arms are plied, while little hands make vain pretence our wanderings to guide. Ah, cruel three, in such an hour, beneath such dreamy weather, to beg a tale of breath too weak to stir the tiniest feather. Yet what can one poor voice avail against three tongues together? Imperious Prima flashes forth her edict to begin it. In gentler tone, Secunda hopes there will be nonsense in it, while Tertia interrupts the tale not more than once a minute. Anon to sudden silence won, in fancy they pursue the dream child moving through a land of wonders wild and new, in friendly chat with bird or beast, and half believe it true. And ever as the story drained the wells of fancy dry, and faintly strove that weary one to put the subject by, the rest next time, it is next time, the happy voices cry. Thus grew the tale of Wonderland. Thus slowly, one by one, its quaint events were hammered out, and now the tale is done. And home we steer, a merry crew, beneath the setting sun. Alice, A childish story take, and with a gentle hand lay it where childhood's dreams are twined in memory's mystic band, like pilgrims' withered wreath of flowers plucked in a far-off land.
In today's instalment of a short series looking at the rare books held in the collections of the museum in the park, we'll be looking at this small and fairly unprepossessing little volume. Bound in calf leather and with a rope-edged binding to it, this book comprises 2 works published in around the 1550s. Inside the front cover, we find this handwritten inscription.
This book was written by that glorious martyr John Hooper, Bishop of Gloucester, who was burned in St Mary's churchyard in that city by bloody Queen Mary, Anno Domini 1556.
It's true to say that with books this early, there's no such thing as a true duplicate. Every book is individual because of bookplates, annotations in the margin, notes written in the flyleaves, or other unique details. This book has many annotations throughout, some written in a childish hand, some which seem to indicate somebody commenting on the text, and some which look almost as if somebody was trying to learn how to write. Some of the annotations are dated, which allows us to see that this is a very early edition of this book, the date on the annotation being 1572. The second volume in the book is a declaration of the 10 Holy Commandments. Like the first section, this too is heavily annotated in the margins, presumably with notes which either comment on the text or argue against it. At this stage, they remain untranscribed. At the very end of the book, we find 2 written messages. The first on this page is short, but the back page of the book has a lengthier message, again at this stage untranscribed, but in English, albeit in a very difficult to read hand. John Hooper lived from around 1495 to 1556. He was an English churchman, the Anglican Bishop of Gloucester and Worcester, a Protestant reformer, and eventually a Protestant martyr. A proponent of the English Reformation, he was executed for heresy by burning during the reign of Queen Mary I.